Stephen A., should the #1 pick be a lock?
Absolutely. For the Phoenix Suns, absolutely. Deandre Ayton is going to be the #1 overall pick, but it's incredibly important that the Phoenix Suns don't mess this up. He's right there in Arizona. He's right down the road. You need a box office attraction who can flat out ball, who's a big boy, the size, the athleticism, and the combination of all of those things with his gifts that you simply can't teach. I don't give a damn about how this kid in Europe looks. I understand he's a 6'8" point guard. He's surreal. He'll probably be the #2 overall pick. If it were anybody else, of course you take those things into consideration. But in Phoenix, considering the level of ineptitude that they have raked that city with in terms of its basketball product that they put out on the floor, DeAndre Ayton, there is nothing to think about. There is nothing to talk about. There is nothing to debate. There is absolutely nothing to consider. You have to take DeAndre Ayton with the #1 overall pick because you are the Phoenix Suns. Anybody else, you can debate it, you can throw it up in the air. But my God, what they have been subjected to in terms of their basketball product since the days that Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni left. I mean, come on. You've got to take this kid #1 overall. If I'm the Phoenix Suns, I change my phone line. I cut it off. I don't talk to anybody. I'm not answering anybody. I'm not entertaining anything, Max. I'm taking DeAndre Ayton. I'm not even talking to anybody about it.
Where he's from, what the team needs, how much box office appeal you think he may have, none of those things in the end matter. The only thing that matters is getting the best player. And while once upon a time I was convinced that was clearly DeAndre Ayton, I am no longer convinced because of his performance in the tournament. Maybe I'm being a prisoner of the moment, but I saw things, Stephen A. He's more athletic than Okafor. But like Okafor, may not be as ideally suited to the modern game, or the postmodern game, if you want to call it that, than some of the other guys in this draft. And I'm not talking about Doncic, who apparently doesn't react well to pressure on the ball. No, not great if he's going to be a primary ball handler. No, I'm not talking about either one of those guys. I look at guys like Jaren Jackson and Wendell Carter, and I see guys there that are more like the best players that have come out of the draft recently. You think about Jason Tatum or even watching the Celtics, think about Al Horford. I see guys who can switch on screens, who play consistent and excellent, like ubiquitous defense. They're everywhere all the time. Long athletes. I see guys with, at least in Wendell Carter's case, some offensive polish too. And in both cases, real offensive upside. I see much more of the kind of modern kind of star than I do in either Ayton or Doncic, to tell you the truth. Though I haven't seen much of Doncic other than the video that that we've all seen. The point is that I think when you have the #1 overall pick in the draft, it can hurt judgment at times because you think, okay, I got the #1 overall pick. Like, how often do you get this? Unless you're the Cleveland Cavaliers without LeBron. I better hit a home run with this pick. But sometimes there is no, home run or grand slam in the draft. Sometimes the best available pick, even at #1, is just a good double off the wall that scores 2 runs. If you consider Jason Tatum that or someone like that. And I think Wendell Carter Jr. and Jaren Jackson Jr. fit that description, and I'd be afraid. I'm not saying you don't take Ayton #1. I just don't think it's a slam dunk, so to speak, because I would be concerned that the wish casting, the desire for him to hit that home run with the #1 pick, the fact that he is so big and already offensively so good, will lead a team to make a mistake. I think they should give very careful consideration to the other players I just mentioned.
Not for me. Not for me. I've got idiots out there talking to me about, it's a guard-oriented league and put another guard with Devin Booker, and there you have it. You don't teach 7'1", 250. Not with those skill sets. And everybody's got to make up their mind, Max, throughout the year. And by the way, before that NCAA tournament game, it's entirely plausible that the entire Arizona Wildcat squad came in underestimating, their opponent in the NCAA tournament, Buffalo, if I remember correctly. Nobody saw that coming. In the conference tournament which they won, Deandre Ayton had back-to-back 32-point games against USC and UCLA. Let's not ignore that. He averaged 20 and 11. Oh, by the way, he shot 34% from three-point range. He can pull up from three. He can take it to the hole. He has a level of size, agility, and athleticism that you simply can't teach with a guy 7 feet 1. And here's what I would throw out in terms of the comparison, Max. Well, I understand that. But let me go back in time just a touch. Obviously, if you had the opportunity to reflect back in time, right, you would have taken Michael Jordan over anybody. Certainly the Portland Trailblazers dropped the ball by taking Sam Bowie, number 2 overall, because they had Clyde Drexler, and their attitude was, we didn't need Michael Jordan. Huge mistake. But even though who I'm going to mention was never Michael Jordan, he still won 2 rings and is still recognized as one of the greatest big men the game has ever seen in Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. Have you ever once heard anybody complain about Olajuwon being taken number 1 overall in the same draft that Jordan was taken number 3? I haven't.
Well,
because
you
can't teach that size and athleticism. You just can't teach.
I have no problem with the decision-making process that went into selecting Olajuwon. He's a perfectly great pick. How could you complain? But if the question is, did they make the right pick in retrospect?
No,
they made the wrong pick. Jordan was the right pick in retrospect.
That wasn't the question. The question was, did you ever hear anyone complain about Olajuwon being taken number 1 overall? I'm telling you no. The reason why is that even though we know he's not Jordan and nobody anticipated that Jordan would be that great, the point is you can't teach 6'11", 7 feet 1 with that ability.
You gotta leave it there, guys.
And that,
but
and
also
him being a local product, there's nothing to think about.
Defense is half the game, Stephen A. And Ayton is a beast on the offensive end. May have defensive potential, but there also may be some defensive drawbacks.
Ayton can rebound, Max.
Yeah, of course, but that's not rebounding is not only a defensive stat, nor in the modern game is it necessarily the most important one for a big.